tutorial. Today I'm just going to pick up where I left off with Alight motion. I did an Alight motion tutorial last week, and so I have some pictures that I have to finish editing, so I was going to run through it again and just kind of show my process. Super simple. Hey Neptune, welcome, welcome. How are you doing today? So we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm just gonna start with hitting the plus button there, and then I'm going to select media, and I'm going to start with my first character, Miss Yori. Lola, thank you for the gift box and the Zema gift.
Grandma.
Oh my gosh, grandbaby, how are you? Thank you. Thank you for the boost and for the gifts and the love. How are you doing, Lola? Yay! How's your ankle? Is it doing better? Oh, that's good. I'd be thinking about that ankle. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. Oh. Thank you for the gifts, for the wink pop. Your name is yellow. I'm telling you, always, when you go out, always come correct. Always come correct. That's no joke. It's hard out there. You don't think you've seen this character? This character is in my Korean drama series that I'm doing. She's kind of new, but not. Thank you for the flower, oh my goodness. You're making sure I'm well taken care of and I can pay my bills. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, this is Hyori. On Hyori. So, what I did is I added a background. Like I said last week, I get my backgrounds from Vecteezy because they're free to use for the most part, but you don't have to worry about people coming after you because of copyright infringement. So, I mean, really all you have to do is give them proper attribution, which is important. Always give people credit for their stuff. Yeah. So I added that. So I added my character. I added a background. So now we're going to start doing the colorization portion like we did last week. So what we always do with a light motion, you work on layers. So you have your layers, and the topmost layer is always going to be the layer that is on top of everything, and the bottommost layer is always going to be behind. Everything does have a subscription, but I think that's their way again to maintain the software for the most part. Gone are the days where you can just buy it one time and then you're done. Now everything runs on a subscription because that's actually a smart way to make money. When you really think about it, it's a smart way to make money and to always have a steady income, honestly. Alight motion has a subscription, but there are free effects that you can use, so that's always good to know. The only thing is it'll save with a watermark if you use on the free version. But you can still get rid of the watermark just by like cropping it out. Welcome, welcome. So we'll start by clicking on our first layer, which is our character layer. And then we're going to go here to effects. And that's where we're going to add all the colors. And make her look a little bit more real. So we're going to go to add effect. And then we have all these options here. The ones that have green circles next to them are the ones that are going to be paid, and so forth. No, that's real Neptune. I still have my copy of Photoshop CS6, and I have no intention of buying a subscription with Adobe, honestly. I also have my copy of Lightroom, I think it's 3.6. I have no intention of buying a subscription for Lightroom either, so if it works, it's good. The only thing is with like the video editing apps, I never had an old video editing app. I mean, there's Windows Movie Maker, but honestly, the stuff I use is so much better than Windows Movie Maker. It's like, plus Windows Movie Maker doesn't run on my computer like that either, so. Let's see. So we're gonna go to color and light. I remember iMovie because I had an iPhone for a minute and now I don't. So kana, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to go to color and light, and the two things that I use for my pictures that are free to use in Alight Motion are the gradient overlay, which you see here, that number on the second row, and I use the exposure gamma. I'm doing good, how are you? And I use the exposure gamma as well. So we're gonna start off with the gradient overlay. You could also use color temperature. Color temperature gives you options of autumn, which are the warm tones, and winter, which is a cool tone preset. And then the gradient overlay is my favorite to use because it gives your character more depth, so you can kind of add a lightness and then a dark shadowiness to your character, so it gives your character more depth. Thank you for the boost. Do I make my own music for my videos? I don't. I use CapCut, and CapCut has a huge music library on it. You're procrastinating on homework? Mood. I am procrastinating on episode 46. I don't even know if there's going to be an episode 46 for the way we were in February, just because I don't have anything written. I have one scene done, and I have no idea what to do for that episode. I mean, I have an idea, I just don't know what to do. You know what does that even make sense? Like, you know what to do, but then you don't. Welcome, Melanie. You want to get a Yamaha organ? Nice. That reminds me, at my grandfather's church, he had a church that was built in 1888. No, 1886 or something. And it's a very old church done in beautiful Gothic architecture, and it had like an organ, and it has pipes built into the back of the wall, which was really, really cool. Really beautiful. Beautiful stained glass, windows, just gorgeous. But it was falling apart and stuff, and they didn't really have the money to repair stuff like it is. It's a historical building. So they had to sell it for about $1 million. Sold it for over $1 million or so. You can make them go to McDonald's and get nuggets for episode 46. That's a mood. But Kana, have you even watched up to episode 45? Are they even at the point of getting nuggets. Thank you for the boost. The organ I'm looking for is from 1968. Nice. I love that. I love that. That's so cool. Alright, so we're dropping that gradient overlay. And by default, the color is like a red orange, and then color 2 is like a pale yellow, probably like primrose color. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of change the color to match the background, which is kind of gray. It's gray and white. So what we can do is just tap on that square for the first color. We can take our eyedropper and probably drag it down to the darkest color on here, make it gray. We'll do the same for the second color. Tag the eyedropper again and drag it down to a lighter color. Maybe down here. It's probably a little bit not light enough. There we go. And then I'll probably make this one darker, so you can adjust the color just by going to this little rectangle here, and then you can kind of drag it down. I feel like for you, Neptune, a theremin would be a dope instrument for you, because you're literally playing frequencies, and it's so ethereal and like spacey. I think you should also get one of those. Welcome, welcome. So now what's cool about this, now that we have our two colors, you can adjust the angle. So I'm moving the angle slider to the left, and as you can kind of see, the angle of our gradient is moving. So I'm going to move it to about here. You can also offset your gradient as well, just by tapping on offset, and then you can actually just slide it with your finger like on the picture. So that's pretty cool. You can adjust the scale of your gradient to make it bigger or smaller. What we're going to focus on though is the blending mode and the alpha. So our blending mode, we're always going to select multiply, and then for the alpha, you can adjust the alpha to make that blend either lighter or darker. So slide to the right to make it lighter, slide to the left to do the electric slide, or make it darker. Ah, thank you. You think that I've seen some organs with a built-in theremin. I think that's awesome. I feel like you should go for it. Get the theremin. So there we have it, a nice gradient there. And then the next effect we're going to add, we're going to go back to color and light again, and we're going to drop that exposure gamma one. And I just like to use standard settings. So again, these are free effects that you can use on Alight. So I mainly just use gamma and exposure. So gamma gives you the kind of a darker contrasted look, and then exposure, if you're boosting it, makes it lighter or darker. So I actually like that. It's pretty nice. Welcome, welcome. There we go. It's pretty dope. I might adjust the gradient just a little bit because her feet could be a little bit darker. And then I'll offset. There we go. Just like that. Perfect. If you wanted to add a little bit more depth to your character, what's not free is going to drawing an edge and using what's called the smooth bevel. This is really nice for adding kind of like a shine effect, and it's really cool because you can add like multiple colors. So you can use diffuse and specular angle to have diffuse and specular colors. Thank you for the boost. So So are you gonna buy the organ off of eBay or like Facebook Marketplace? Or is that the antique store? So you can like set the diffuse color just again by tapping on the square. You can have like two separate colors, and then we can adjust the angle to have those colors on different sides. So this is great if you're like that person who does like dance edits or like edits where there's like neon colors of different hues on different sides of your character. And so you can have like that effect where you have the two different colors on two different sides of your character, which is actually really cool. So that adds kind of like that shine, so you can adjust the angle on each side, and then you can adjust the radius of like how thick that actually is. And then you can drop down to the diffuse intensity and specular intensity here. And then you can adjust how bright each of those colors are. So with this character, I don't think I'm going to use the smooth bevel. I just don't think that that's fitting for this picture per se. Probably wait until you move, you live at an apartment. Oh yeah, for sure. I ain't trying to put a piano in my house, I know that for sure. And Kana, what homework are you procrastinating on? You know better. Okay, so now we're gonna add a light shadow on here. That's why you have movers, Neptune. You gotta have some movers to help with that. I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to throw them back out. So we're going to add a shadow just by going again to the plus here, and then shape is already selected. I selected the circle. We're going to click that circle. We're going to select color and fill, and we're going to change that circle to black. And then we're going to come back over to effects, still on the circle layer, and we're going to add an effect. And we're going to add the Gaussian blur, which you can select by going to blur and going to Gaussian blur. And we'll just hit standard settings. And then we can adjust the circle and make it an oval just by selecting the top and pinching it inwards. And we can adjust the size by dragging the corner and bringing it out. There we go. Welcome, welcome. And then just to make the shadow less saturated, we're going to drop over here to blending and opacity. And then we're just going to drag the slider for opacity here at the top, and we're just going to drag that down. Do you have a favorite drawing app? I use Ibis Paint. I used Ibis Paint last week when I was showing you that I was editing a character's skirt because it was too short. Something was going on with it. We're going to take that circle, we're going to adjust the scale of it. I'm just going to adjust the scale by going to the move and transform and then selecting this square here. And then just kind of doing that. And then I'll probably increase the Gaussian blur a little bit more since it's a cloudy day. So, and there we go. Yeah, I use Ibis Paint or I use Photoshop. Alright, so now it only uses two colors. I feel like you can still be creative even with those two colors. For sure. Alright. That does make it more fun. It forces you to be more creative. Now we're going to copy the effects of our character layer, and I'm going to drop down to our background layer, go to effects, select the 3 dots here, hit paste, effect, and I'm just going to kind of adjust from there. I'm going to change one of the gradient colors because it's too blue. Alright, and with that, we are done with that picture. Any questions? What are you? We're doing good so far. So I'm going to go ahead and save that as a PNG. Might change the background later. I don't know. We'll see. But so far she looks good. Now we're going to move on to avatar number 2. Miss Dohi. I'm gonna pick a nice background for her. And I'm gonna turn these layers off just by clicking the eye. And do a 2-finger resize. Okay. So now this one I would probably use a more warmer tone. Alright, so we're going to again go over to effects, add effects, go over to color and light, drop our gradient overlay. This is Dohi. Excuse my Korean pronunciation, but Dohi is her name. So we're going to use she is the sister of my main character for off script. So she makes her appearance in a side story. Emmy, welcome, welcome. She makes her appearance in a side story. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see. No. How are you, Emmy? So, oops, stop. Alright. Yeah, so this is Dohi. So she makes her awesome appearance, I guess, I don't know if it's a cameo or something, but she makes her appearance here in our side story as our male protagonist sister. I'm still deciding if she should be a little sister or an older sister. I know that he has the older brother here on the left, but I'm deciding if he should be like a middle child or if he should be like Yes, or just like the youngest. So that's a decision. I'm thinking about it. I feel like it'd be interesting if he was the middle child for reasons, like just for like reasons. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. See, Neptune thinks that she should be the youngest. I feel like she could be the youngest. Like, they'll still be like all adults, but I still feel like she would do well as probably like a younger sibling. A younger sibling that looks down on her older brother as well. So, thank you for the boost, Emmy. How are you? So yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I try to make my characters amazing, and it's a long process. It's a long process. So that is Dolhi. She looks sweet, but she probably isn't, so. So we'll go ahead and again select multiply as the blending layer for our blending mode, and then we're going to again just adjust the alpha, make it lighter, and then we're going to go to add effect again. We'll go to color and light, hit exposure gamma, and then again gonna decrease the gamma, kind of up the exposure a little bit. And I'm going to apply that same effect to our background. Ew, it looks old, gross. I gotta adjust that. Probably the angle. How do I make my characters? I start with a blank avatar, and then I spend a really long time adjusting their eyes and noses and lips just to make them look somewhat realistic. It's a whole process. It's a whole process. I guess I have to do like maybe a tutorial about how I make my avatars. It really takes like 10 minutes to make an avatar that looks super decent, but for my main avatar it's taken me like 2.5 years to make him look relatively decent, and he's still in the process. He's still in processing, so help. Milkshake, milkshake, how are you? I create a mock-up and then make the avatar based on that. See, that's dope. I don't do that. I literally just go off the top of my head. I literally just make my avatar literally off the top of my head. The only characters that have actually had references are the characters that are modeled after dolls, and then Aijo and Shiori, because they're my OCs from a story. But everyone else, for the most part, is literally off the top of my head, and I'm just like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that would be cool. Let's do that. And then all of a sudden, now you have 90 avatars. Help. Thank you for the boost, milkshake. How are you doing? Alright. So since we have kind of like a hard shadow, I don't know if you noticed, but there's like shadows coming from the buildings on the right, we're going to create a hard shadow for her as opposed to just being lazy and doing like this little spot shadow like we did in the last one. And then, so what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this layer just by selecting the first layer and then clicking on these two squares beneath your canvas. Those two squares right here will have like select all layers, duplicate layer, copy layer. So we're just going to duplicate the layer. Once you've duplicated the layer, we're going to go over to effects again. We're going to add an effect, go to color and light, and we're going to add a solid color effect. And then we're going to take that solid color, we're going to turn it black. And now we're just going to rotate that bottom solid color layer by going to move and transform into these little square with the circle, which is our rotation. I'm going to rotate into the direction of the sun, just like that. And then we can move by hitting the 4 arrows and then using the pad here to do that. Now we don't want to be lazy and just leave it like that, because that's really lazy and it doesn't look right. So we're going to use the skew option, which is this 4th option that you see here on the right side, where it's like the square is like becoming a trapezoid or something. And we're given these 2 slider options. So we're going to use the bottom slider and slide to the right. As you can see, the shadow is already getting like flatter, so it kind of lines up with the flatness of the ground, and that's what we want. And then also you can adjust the top to bring it up as well. We're mostly just going to focus on this part. And we're going to go back and we're just going to adjust as needed. I'm also going to make this shadow a little bit more narrow, so I'm going to break the link right here and split that in 2. So now it's not going to be resized proportionately. And I'm going to just slide the top slider, and that's going to make it more narrow. So I don't know if you can see, like it's already kind of like making it smaller. And again, that gives it more depth, more effect, and everything that we need. So now that we've done that, we've adjusted that, now we're going to go back to effects. We're going to add another effect, and that'll be the blur. And we're just going to drop that Gaussian blur on top of that. Go to standard settings. And I'm going to do a light Gaussian blur just because the buildings have a lighter Gaussian blur on the ground. And then I'm going to go to the blending and opacity and then drop that down to about how the buildings are shadowed. Boom. And then also I might adjust the color for her just a little bit and make her just a little bit brighter. Just a little bit on the gradient side. Whoops, now she's blue. Alright. So that looks okay. She looks mid. The backgrounds I chose are kind of whatever. And it might be because they're not proportional. I'm not resizing proportionally, and I should. So I'm going to resize the street proportionately. I don't. I have no character references, really. All of my characters are literally just spur of the moment, made off the top of my head characters. Let's see, welcome, welcome. And we're going to save that as a PNG. So we've done 2 characters so far. I think that's good. So now in the last few minutes that we have on here, I'm just going to again take you through Polish Photo Editor, which is what I use to edit my photos very simply. Some people might use Pixar, other people might use CapCut, other people might use another different photo editing program. I prefer Polish because it's just straightforward, it's simple, it's basic. So we're gonna start with Miss Hyodi, looking nice today. And we're just gonna drop a filter. I usually go for the most realistic type of filter, something that makes her look, I guess, like a photo model. So it's usually for me A1 or some other one. Dew is really nice though. It has like a pink tone. That's pretty cute. But I don't want to go for ones that make her like washed out. Not about that. So try to avoid stuff that makes your character look washed out, unless that's what you're going for. So we're just gonna save that because that's cute. And I think I'm done. I might add a blur in the background though. You cut characters that don't work. I think that's okay to do that though, because that means, think of it this way, Marie Kondo, or KonMari, Marie Kondo, who does the KonMari method, she always talks about checking things for joy, right? So you hold on to an item and you see if it sparks joy in your life. If it doesn't, you get rid of it. If you do, you hold on to it. So I have a few characters that did not resonate with me, so I also got rid of them. I think I got rid of 3 of them. 3 of them. Hello Haven, how are you? Yeah, I got rid of 3 characters. And the thing is that all 3 of those characters all looked the same. I made them at different points in time, and I guess they were made to replace the first character I deleted, and then in the end I ended up deleting all of them. So, and replacing them with just other characters. So sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you just don't need a character like that. So I know people were sad about that, but they'll be fine. So they're gonna be okay. How are you doing? So now I'm just gonna erase some of this blur. Actually, I'm gonna put some of it back in. You'll cut characters if they have a similar design. That's a move. The only time I do not cut characters if they have a similar design is if they're twins. And I have a few twin characters. If they're twins, I don't cut them. But I feel like a lot of my characters look similar. That's the other problem. People are like, they look the same. Like, well, I am the same person and I am trying my best. So I think this looks good. Welcome, welcome. So we're going to save that. Alright. Next character is Dohi. So again, we're going to choose a filter. A1 is nice. Warm is cute. Story is alright. Natural looks okay. But I feel like A1 is a little bit too saturated. S2 is too orange. Dew doesn't look right. Warm is too warm. Natural does look really natural. And your characters are very distinct, Neptune, so I can't tell that they look like each other. Mine look too much like each other, probably. I think Dolhi probably looks a lot like Elowen, a little bit, but also not. Elowen has a distinct princessy look. Dolhi just has a cute look, I guess. My characters, I guess they kind of look like each other. I don't know. Welcome, welcome. Alright. Okay. Alright. Let's see. I feel like I need ice cream after this. Yeah, take your time. Either I need ice cream or I need to do a different background for her, probably. Let's do that. Yeah, that looks better. Welcome, welcome. So yeah, I'm just changing the background because I don't like how it looks. I'm going to readjust the alpha a little bit for her. And then bring down the exposure. And then since that's kind of like an alleyway that's already has light shadows, we're going to go back to our lazy circle shadow. Okay. And then adjust the Gaussian. Welcome back. And then save this PNG. Alright. Let's try this again. Different background. Ooh, no thank you. Okay, that's cute. We'll go with that probably. It gives her such a softer look. And then going to blur background and then get rid of the blur in places that don't need blurring, like the front. So I like creating some kind of depth of field like a camera would, but only leaving the background blurred, and then when it comes to the ground, leaving some of the background blurred and then leaving the part that's close up to the camera and supposed to be like more in focus unblurred. Welcome, welcome. Alright, and so with that, it looks like we are done with Dolhi. So this one I'll probably add an effect on it, so we'll add a light effect. One of my favorite effects to use are the dust and sunlight effects that give kind of like light coming down or shining down from above. So I'll probably use that kind of filter on this. Give her a soft, cute look. There we go. And then just kind of some things to tidy up. I guess would just be to remove this white that's going on without it looking like trash. Let's try AI remove. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if that does something. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it does a good job. Is that a European city? Yes. Welcome, welcome. Magic AI is erasing. I would like to see what kind of job it does. It did a really good job. Wow. I'm impressed. Hey Ryle, how are you doing? Long time no see. You know, I have no clue what city it is. You know how you just download stuff that looks good and you don't even try to figure out what city it is? It also doesn't help that the person who took the photo literally just put European city. So, yes, how have you been? Thank you for the boost. Alright, so we are done with 2 pictures for outfit of the week. I am so behind on outfit of the week. I'm doing good. I am teaching a tutorial and I'm also behind on all my editing, and this is a great excuse to teach people how to edit and then keep up on my editing at the same time.